So just a couple of days ago, Manchester United went away to Anfield and secured a historic 2-1 win. And I'm always of the opinion that you can only win at Anfield if you do well and play well from a defensive point of view. And for large parts of the game, Manchester United certainly did. For large parts, we were compact and Liverpool struggled to break us down. However, at the same time, Liverpool did get opportunities. They had over 3.1 expected goals in this match. Now, of course, game state is incredibly important. Manchester United were winning for most of the match, and Liverpool were always chasing, so their expected goals should be higher. They were really desperate to try and score a goal. Then I saw this tweet on Twitter about Liverpool's inability to move the ball forward through the lines, and it really got me thinking about the way that United were defending, and the plan that Ruben Amorim had for this football match. You see, I don't think United's defensive approach was conventional. What we often see from teams is the desire to force the opposition to play out wide, further away from goal, whereas United were actually inviting Liverpool inside the pitch so that the centre-backs could become really useful. Ruben Amorim's plan was essentially to set the trap for Liverpool and hope they fell for it. So for today's video, we have got Manchester United in the white kit just to make things a little bit easier when we look at some of the match screenshots as well. But today we are talking about Liverpool trying to move the ball forward, trying to move through Manchester United, United trying to invite that pressure onto them in the hope that they could then sort of catch Liverpool and play in those transitional moments. And of course, again, we have to remember United were 1-0 up for most of this football match, so we had a lead to protect. The question is, how did we go about protecting it? Well, very often, as we discussed in the match video, it involved not pressing high at all. United were not interested in winning the ball over here in these areas. In fact, the rare occasion that we did try, Liverpool were actually able to get through. What we did more regularly was actually drop into more of a back five across the back with Ahmad and Dalot at wing back, and then Mbeumo and Mount move a little bit wider and deeper, creating a 5-4-1 for Manchester United, like what we can see in this screenshot here. Now, of course, Liverpool, the way that they are going to approach this is to try and get players in between the lines to cause as many problems for United as possible. And when we talk about in between the lines, we're talking about in this space here. They're trying to get between the Manchester United centre-backs and the Manchester United midfielders. So that could be Salah in there, perhaps with Bradley overlapping a little bit wider. We could see Szoboszlai in there. And we also often saw Alexis McAllister moving forward into these positions. Now, what United were doing in these moments was being very compact in the 5-4-1 shape, but in particular, the two central midfielders were incredibly narrow, almost on top of each other at times. Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes moved really close to each other, and the purpose for this, the reason why we were doing this, was that so when Gravenberch had the ball in this position here, he couldn't split that line through the middle into the feet of Szoboszlai because Casemiro and Bruno were both there. However, Liverpool could still move the ball forward centrally. As we can see in the stat here, 30% of the time they were looking to play through the middle. So United are narrow, but actually still inviting a central pass. But it's a central pass that they want to invite. Let me explain that. Just quickly before we do get into explaining that, if you want to see more stats like what we're using in today's video, then make sure to head to xgstat.com, where if you use the code AJA10, you will get 10% off your subscription, and I really recommend that you do that. So head to the link in the description down below and use code AJA10 for 10% off. So Manchester United have set up in the narrow shape that we have already seen, and the two central midfielders have blocked that pass through the middle. And I think we have to remember here that we are slightly helped by the fact that the Liverpool squad is lacking a certain profile. They lack a passing midfielder, someone who is a maestro and able to dictate the game from deep and able to punch the ball through the lines. Of course, they used to have Trent, and he was phenomenal. With his passing range, he could literally drop of a hat make anything happen on a football pitch, purely with his passing range. Liverpool now lack that with the likes of Gravenberch and Konate at the back. So that's one of the problems for Liverpool, and it's a huge advantage for Manchester United. However, you will still notice there are gaps for United and gaps for Liverpool to exploit. Yes, we are blocking the middle of the pitch here, access into Szoboszlai, but what we are not doing is actually blocking this pass into the right half space or this pass into the left half space over here. You see, when Gravenberch picks the ball up into midfield, he may not be able to play into Szoboszlai, but what he can do is play a sort of diagonal short pass into the feet of either, realistically, it was Isak more regularly in the right half space, or McAllister in the left half space. There was potentially the opportunity to play the ball in here. And typically, the defensive team would want to stop this happening. And at times, United did. At times, Brian Mbeumo would come incredibly narrow. Mason Mount would do the same. And we were able to restrict those central gaps. However, there were also moments where we were actually almost inviting Liverpool to play that pass. And the reason why we were inviting Liverpool to play that pass was because we felt that our centre-backs could do the job almost of an extra midfielder. And this explains the team selection from Ruben Amorim, going with Shaw and De Ligt as his wide centre-backs, as opposed to Lenny Yoro. Shaw and De Ligt are more comfortable being aggressive, stepping out from the back, and actually jumping into that midfield to be the extra man. Now, we've seen this sort of approach from United before. We have seen the wider centre-backs trying to connect into midfield, trying to be the extra man, and trying to apply pressure on the ball. But quite often it hasn't worked. So why did it work in this game? And why is this Ruben Amorim's plan? And does it actually explain what he's been trying to do from a defensive point of view the whole time that he's been at the football club? Because in this game, a lot of the match, it worked. Liverpool had players in the half space. Isak is here in the half space. McAllister is here in the half space. But because of the pass that United are forcing, United are in control despite not having the ball. So United are inviting Liverpool to play in a certain area, which means when Liverpool play that pass, which they are forced to do so because United are so compact, it's the only forward option, Liverpool are forced to play that pass in there. But because United have asked Liverpool to go in there, United are prepared to deal with it. So we may not have literally possession of the ball, but we're still dictating where it goes because we are baiting Liverpool into playing this ball. And this is why our wider centre-backs can now be more prepared for these situations. If you look at our three defenders that we've got at the back, the three centre-backs, they've actually all got one man each that they need to pick up. It's quite a simple game for them. They just need to pick up their player in front of them. What we've seen previously under Ruben Amorim is the centre-backs being dragged across the pitch into zones where they don't really want to go. But we didn't see that in this game. The Manchester United defenders essentially had a channel each that they were responsible for. De Ligt in this area here, Maguire in this area, and then Luke Shaw in this position here. So as this ball comes from Gravenberch into the feet of Isak, Luke Shaw was positioned and ready to pounce. The Manchester United defenders essentially had one man each, and that makes the job a lot easier. It means it's a lot easier to follow your man. And the reason why United want to do this was because receiving the ball on the back foot in this sort of position, whether it's Isak or McAllister, is actually quite difficult. And then when you've got aggressive players like De Ligt and Luke Shaw, who both had pretty good games, they're able to crunch in and win the ball here. And this is where Manchester United can be dangerous. And this is why we're forcing Liverpool to play centrally. Because if we turn the ball over in the middle of the pitch, we've then got Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro. Probably the two players at our club with the best passing range over long distances, I would say. And then we've got the players who can sort of spring forward into the transitioning moment. So the whole defensive plan from Ruben Amorim was to invite these passes so United could overturn the ball and then be lethal on the counter. Now, I think what I liked most about United from this game, from a defensive point of view, was that I felt like I knew what Amorim was trying to do. Sometimes it's been a little bit confusing. Sometimes it's felt like we've sat deep and almost waited to concede. In this game, I felt that we were aggressive from our block. We tried to step out when possible. We tried to apply pressure to the ball with the clear plan of trying to, direct Liverpool into a certain area, win the ball back, and then transition. I really liked that. However, we do have to remember that it wasn't perfect. Liverpool did create a lot of opportunities. And we've got to remember that there are flaws in this system. The main flaw being, if you get it wrong, you are inviting the opposition to penetrate the heart of the pitch. If you don't quite pick your player up, or the central midfielders aren't quite close enough, you are actually inviting a direct ball into the heart of your defence, which is suddenly a problem. In one pass, you can quickly be hurt, like we saw here and like we saw here. So it's not perfect for Manchester United. We have also seen other weeks that freer, more rotational teams have caused problems for United. When players start rolling into different channels, the United defenders have some problems. So let's quickly go back to those back three again. De Ligt's responsible here, Maguire is responsible here, Luke Shaw is responsible here. Or so you would think. In the game against Liverpool, this was the case. It was quite simple. Isak stayed in this channel, so Luke Shaw locked onto him. Moving forward against other teams to be successful, United have to be prepared for a different match as well. What we've seen in the past is that when someone like Isak in this right half space here starts drifting across into a different zone, it causes problems for United because we either become overloaded here or Luke Shaw follows his man and now we have a big gap here for runners to potentially hurt us. So what I really want to point out just with this last segment is that I like what we're seeing from Ruben Amorim. I like that the defensive plan was clear and obvious. That's good. It's good to have direction in terms of what we're doing. But it isn't perfect. there are things to be a little bit concerned about and things that we need to figure out. However, if we do figure it out, I kind of like what we're trying. So I think overall, the ultimate point is that Manchester United defensively were good enough to secure the win against Liverpool. Yes, Liverpool had a lot of expected goals, but we expect that from a team chasing a victory. People will point to the missed opportunities, but a lot of these are really difficult chances. You know, the post hits are coming from worldy players, not necessarily issues in the Manchester United system. However, having said that, there were some flaws. There were moments where Liverpool could move the ball forward, particularly when United were out of this structure and actually tried to squeeze a little bit higher to win the ball back. That's when we looked a little bit ropey and it looked like Liverpool could hurt us. So, you know, the defence isn't fixed. Ruben Amorim hasn't come up with a master plan of how United can defend. But what he may have is an idea and sort of a secret plan of what he wants the United defence to be in the future. I almost feel that he wants the opposition to access the half spaces, but he wants the United centre-backs and midfielders to be prepared to deal with it, to turn those moments actually from a defensive issue into an attacking opportunity. I get the feeling that that might be the plan behind what we're trying to do. Now, of course, we need to evolve further so we can deal with different defensive problems as well, but it's a step in the right direction when we can start to point out certain things and identify what we're trying to do. And I think today we have done that. I want to hear from you guys in the comments. Do you agree with what I've spoken about today, or is this a one-off match? Or is this not even present at all in this match? I'd like to hear what you guys think in the comments. Apart from that though, we are finished for today's video. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like, subscribe, and also get your notifications on so you never miss a future video. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.